Hello again, Taylor County. I'm Alex Renham, and here with Rob Boylard, who's running for Board of Education. Rob, how are you today?
Doing great. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Rob Boylard. Again, I'm running for Board of Education in the Western District. I was born and raised here in Taylor County. Grafton High School class of 2001. I married my beautiful wife almost 10 years ago, and we have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Great.
Well, it's good you're here. Thank you for running. We try to thank every candidate for that. Tell us a little bit about the Board of Education. I think people, obviously they think education, the Board of Education, you get the state board, you got all these things. Tell us about the County Board of Education position and what it does and what it means to you.
Absolutely. Some of the primary functions of the County Board of Education are to control the finances, the tax dollars that come into the county, and how that is dispersed among the schools, as well as working in concert with the superintendent and athletic directors of the county to make sure that we can provide the best possible education we can for our students.
Yeah, awesome. So can you provide maybe a good example or a scenario or something where you've had a challenge in your life that you feel has, or some kind of experience that you feel has prepared you to be not just a board member, but a good, solid board member and a leader in our community?
Absolutely. When I was first started attending public schools, I attended Hepzibah for 2 years, moved on to Perneytown, and finally finished up at Anna Jarvis. I was a little bit of a problem child. I was a little bit of a knucklehead. I was certainly at behavior risk, and I carried that on until just about high school. So I think I've seen different avenues that your typical person running for Board of Education hasn't seen. I certainly had a lot of very patient teachers and administrators who have worked with me through the years to help shape me into the person that I am today.
And it's interesting. I think we're going to all look back and pick a few people in our lives who, if they weren't there, maybe we didn't go the way we went. Absolutely. So that's great. If you're elected, what would be kind of your number one priority going in?
You know, a couple years ago when the schools were rated here in the county, some schools were rated really great and others not so much. And those schools that were rated really great were certainly put up on a pedestal. And I think that's amazing. However, I believe if all 5 of our schools aren't excelling, we're failing. And we need to give every student a chance in this county to excel moving forward. And so we need to make sure that all those schools are excelling and doing the best that they can do by helping empower our administrators and our teachers and our staff members to do the things that need to be done, and by working with our community and taking the input that our community members have to offer us.
Yeah, so taking it kind of a bit further, so let's say you are elected, you go after, what is it, you know, at the end of your term, or maybe you have several terms, whatever it might be in your aspirations, what the county will allow, what ultimately will you want to be remembered for as Rob Boylard, the Taylor County Board of Education?
Absolutely. When you're running for public office, you see a lot that people like to talk about transparency and how important it is to be transparent. And I obviously agree with that. I think that you need to be transparent with the public. However, I think we need to also focus on accountability. While anyone can attend a public meeting, and you hear that a lot involving different boards, well, you can always come, it's an open meeting, it's a public meeting. As an accountable person, you're the one who's elected, you're the one that's being paid. Why are you not out on the street speaking with the people that helped elect you, the people whose tax dollars are paying you? And I want to be known as the Board of Education member who pushed accountability a step further.
That's great. What do you think our biggest challenge is as a county, and certainly from our education perspective?
Well, right now, you know, we clearly have an issue with the opioid problem. It's statewide. We need to work with local law enforcement and possibly even the FBI and really start to counteract some of the issues that happen with that, because that does trickle down, unfortunately, into our school systems. Again, we need to work to improve our school systems moving forward so the children are able to receive the best education that they can.
Okay, great. Some specific questions around the Board of Education, and one of the ones you talk about, the opioid epidemic for sure, is, I mean, I don't think there's anybody listening here or watching at home hasn't been affected by that, without a doubt. But there's another thing we're all affected by, if we see it. We may not have had a direct relation to it, and that's school safety.
Correct.
Everybody's thinking about this. We were all in an event the other night. A young student, freshman, comes in and was asked specifically, are you safe? Do you feel safe at school? And he's like, sometimes. You know, so how is the Board of Education in Taylor County, how can you and in the board, I know it's a member board, how can you guys have our kids feeling safe, and not just feeling safe, being safe? What can we do there?
Well, again, I think we need to defer to local law enforcement, those people who are trained and specialize in those measures. what I don't want to do is have a knee-jerk reaction where we're taking taxpayer dollars and just kind of throwing it away because we believe something maybe help the school be safer or provide a false sense of security without any data to back up the fact that those will in fact be a safer measure. I know previous Board of Education meetings they had discussed about putting key card readers in. It was brought up at the meeting you just discussed the other night. Well, why don't we give students key cards? I don't know how comfortable I feel with giving, you know, a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old student a key card that they're supposed to be responsible for, and how that actually makes the school any safer if they are able to use their key card to gain access at any time. So again, I think I would defer to the people who are a little more specialized in that and try to make sure that we're not further stressing our tax base here in the county and seeing no return for that.
One of the things, I think, the themes, you know, so we had polled the county on questions, things that they would like to ask, and of just about every office across the board, but certainly with the Board of Education, it was more, what are we doing? And you can't answer specifically to this board necessarily because you're not on it. You aren't an incumbent. But if looking at the board, what can the board do proactively to lead this community in the areas of school shooting otherwise that maybe isn't so reactive? And I think that was a real theme going across some of the community.
Okay, proactively, I think you need to, again, constantly be working with your local law enforcement. You need to be working with the FBI. It's just a couple minutes down the road. You need to be working with your U.S. Marshals. Certainly, there were feasibility searches done and checks done when I worked at the courthouse, where they came in and were like, you know, this isn't safe to do this. You need to get away from doing that. And we can certainly bring in those studies into our local schools. And I know that there's been a lot of emphasis placed on the high school and the middle school, and most numbers would indicate that those are your more at-risk schools. However, I would like to see enhanced security at all 5 schools in the county. Across the board, and I think that we need to, if elected, I would want to be proactive on that as the first thing. That is, you know, A1, we need to contact the people that are specialists to get them into the county and begin looking at our schools to see what we need to do to make our schools safer before something happens. A common refrain I've heard, well, that might not happen in this county. That might not happen in this state. We just had it last year. I mean, there was almost a major catastrophe that happened at Philip Barber High School. That could have ended much worse than what it did. And so we don't want that to ever come knocking on our door.
Yeah, no, the it won't happen to us thing is probably not the best position for any of us to take right now. Kind of switching gears a little bit. The most recent work stoppage, the teachers were out of work, walk out, stand out, but not strike, you know, whatever. But they basically went down and they were heard by the state, you know, increased pay raise for all state workers, but certainly the real push, the thrust was from educators. Correct. In this state. And so at this point, you know, I think everybody's trying to claim victory, and that's great. And I think there was some movement there. But what is I think a two-part question. What is your perspective on that whole scenario? It's not that we can't talk. It's the elephant in the room in education right now in our state, and you see it happening across the country. And West Virginia led that for sure. So what's your perspective on that? And then what do we do next? I mean, we still aren't performing as a state very well educationally in many areas. And I'm not here to down our education system, but what do we do next? I mean, paying our educators more, those things. I mean, a lot of people would argue that that's absolutely essential. But what's next? So your perspective, and then what's next?
Well, first off, you know, I did work a lot alongside some of those educators. And as a former state employee and still an employee under PEIA insurance, I understood that it wasn't just about a pay raise. It was mostly about the insurance and the fact that in some cases their premiums were going to double. It was going to take their spouse's salary into account, which I just thought was ludicrous. I didn't appreciate the grandstanding from both parties in Charleston, I'll be honest with you. I didn't like how they were using the livelihoods and using our students as collateral to push whatever political agenda that they had at the time. I wanted to see the teachers be able to combat what was happening with PEIA, and I think they were able to do that because not all state entities frankly, are as tight-knit or as unionized as you can be in the state of West Virginia, as the teachers are. So they basically had to fight that battle for a lot of other entities. Moving forward, I think that the victories that they got, not only with the pay raise, but also with the PEIA, will help ensure that the bright young teachers that we have in this state are staying in this state. That was something that was really facing the state just a couple years ago, is you had a whole generation of teachers that were in a retirement phase. Sure. And as they were phasing out, you didn't necessarily have the ones to come in and replace them. And we still have many openings across the state. Fairmont State, WVU, those schools aren't able to produce teachers fast enough just to fill the state. But if we're more competitive as a pay, and we have better insurance, we have the tangible benefits to being a state employee that being a teacher should provide, I think we will continue to get quality candidates, and that should improve education moving forward.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So one of the things, another theme that I was hearing in the questions, and certainly you're seeing play out on a national stage, but absolutely in our state as well, is workforce readiness. Not just college prep necessarily, and I'm not debating one better than the other, but the fact is there is a need for workforce readiness coming out of high schools. So what's your opinion on that, and what are the things that you'd like to see us as a county be doing? And I know we're doing some of that now, but what more can we do to have a ready workforce in West Virginia?
Absolutely. You know, when I graduated high school, I didn't immediately attend college myself. I was kind of confused as about what I wanted to do further in life, and I got stuck at a couple dead-end jobs along the way. Then I decided to pursue the military, which you did as well, which is a great investment. But as we know, the military isn't for everybody, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody moving forward. I think we have an incredible job site at Grafton. I think we have an incredible program in welding and some other issues that we can deal with there at Grafton that can make those folks here in Grafton more attractive hires across the state. And focus on the fact that, again, you don't have to be a college graduate. You can go into a technical job and make a great livelihood, something you can be proud of. And I think that Grafton's done that for years. I think we've had a great vocational school there, and I want to continue to enforce that vocational school. I want to continue to support that vocational school. And we have had some early conversations with some of the guidance counselors at the school, and talking about the kind of the retention rates. I know that they follow up with the students a year after they graduate to kind of see where they are, and I want to see those programs that are succeeding and see what we can't do to fund them better, or try to maybe incorporate additional programs into that, because I think you see a lot more of that in our local area here in the surrounding counties about getting a vocational job, being able to go work for a Pratt Whitney or a Bombardier versus going and spending 4 years into a college to get a degree that you may not be able to use around here right now.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier transparency and communication. That was, again, several folks had reached out about it. I think, and there's two sides to this, and I want to be fair to any public official. There's transparency, there's communication, there's also engagement from the public. So as a Republican, and we talk about this a lot on this show, we've got to be engaged. But from your perspective as a leader, if you're able to win this election, and you're now a community leader, you're not leading now, even by just stepping out and trying to be in public office, but how can you improve the level of transparency, communication, and engagement with the board and its community?
Again, I talked about it before. We're the elected officials. We're already being paid. And as great as it would be for the community to approach us and come to these open meetings, we have to be able to meet them halfway. We have to be willing to attend faculty senate days. And I would love to do that. I would love to attend all faculty senates to hear the issues and concerns from teachers. When I campaigned before, the common refrain I've heard from everybody that I spoke with is, I don't feel like I have a voice. And now I'm hearing that again from the teachers. I'm hearing that from the citizens. They don't feel like they have a voice. The only time they feel like they have a voice is when you're in front of them one-on-one, knocking on their door, looking for a vote. And we need to get away from that. When I speak with local business owners in downtown Grafton, they say, hey, some of the elected officials that came by and asked for my support, they can't give me a minute of their time now. And that's not okay, because that's the tax base. They're the ones paying our salary. It's our duty to meet them halfway. It's our duty to go find the problems, not expect them to approach us with the problems. And I just think that we need to be more proactive in doing that moving forward.
And so, as is customary on this show, we kind of give you the last word. What is it you'd like to tell the people of Taylor County?
Taylor County, I would appreciate your support in May. I feel that I'm the candidate with my unique background in finance and taxation to be able to make the tough calls moving forward to make sure that our schools are properly funded, to make sure that we keep all of our programs, that all sports are equally funded, and that I'm not going to put a dollar sign on our children's head. I want to make sure that you keep the freedoms that you have as parents and that our students remain safe and protected. Thank you.
Rob Boyd, Board of Education, good luck. Thanks for coming again.
Thank you.